Let's get oral. Let's get oral.
Welcome back to Let's Get Oral. I am Jonathan Dornell, one of your co-hosts here with the LGO crew. And today, we are so fortunate to be able to sit down with Dr. Khurram Khan. He is an oral maxillofacial surgeon based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. So we have Ohio in the house. And we're so excited to be able to sit down and chat with him today about his journey becoming a pediatric surgeon, but also all the amazing work he does both as a founder and contributor to the Smiles Unite Us Foundation. Welcome to the show, Dr. Khan.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. This is definitely been looking forward to this. I think we've really only had one other clinician and professional on the peds side to sit down with us, and I feel like we've underserved that community. I don't know how many children listen, but I think there's plenty of parents who could benefit from our conversation in addition to peers and the like. So first, could you tell us about what inspired you to pursue a career in pediatric dentistry?
Sure. Pediatrics. Well, as a maxillofacial surgeon, the facial aspect, I'm a facial surgeon. And interestingly enough, I was thinking about that question the other day, and I believe I was 6, almost 7 years old when I first drew my first portrait. And the interesting part is I never drew anything else. I only drew faces. That's it. It was always my mom, my dad, my grandparents, dogs, cats, but it was only the face. Never drew homes or trees or anything like that. And it was interesting that, ended up in dental school because I didn't want to go to medical school because all my cousins and friends were going to medical school. So I was like, no, dentistry, it's very artistic. You're working with your hands all the time. While in dental school, I found this love for surgery. And again, because, well, it was the face that we were operating on. And so that excited me a lot. And eventually, when the time came, I've always loved kids. I've always loved kids, even more so now that I have 2 of my own. I have an 8-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. So I feel that a lot of kids, I had a chance in dental school to see children with facial differences. And the fact that a lot of them hadn't been treated. So for me, it was just easy to connect with those kids. I've always been able to connect with children, especially babies. Who doesn't? It's easy, I feel like, to hold a baby and just, yeah. I remember going off on a tangent here, but my wife wasn't comfortable holding babies till the time she had her own. For me, I was like, give that baby right now. Let me hold that baby. Babies, it was just amazing. And it's not easy. It's not an easy field to be in. And it was challenging and it was extremely rewarding. And that's why I wanted to dedicate my life to patients, whether they're children or adults, with facial differences, so that they can look like you and I, where people walk by and they don't really look at me. Somebody's facial difference, people will stare at, people are curious about, and they may not want to they may not want to hurt somebody. However, it gets tiring. When you talk to these patients, and they're 18, 19 years old, and it gets tiring where they're like, yeah, everybody always stares at me. I don't want to be stared at anymore. So a multitude of things, starting at a very early age of 6, 7 years old, where I had a fascination with the face, and then one thing led to another. I always knew I wanted to go into medicine, and then dentistry, and then the face as a face surgeon, then to pediatrics. But all in all, just the love of children as always. It's so easy to connect with them, and there's also something pure about children that we lose as we grow older. So.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we take for granted.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. As you were coloring that picture for us, no pun intended, with your portraits, and the fact that you already had a fascination with faces, but also like an innate connection with youth, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
Really, I think set you up well for doing what I would say almost seems destined now.
It does. Exactly. Now you look back and you're like, whoa, I think this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah, it makes me reflect a little bit on my path and I'm grateful for how diverse and dynamic it's been. But the common thread has been driven by curiosity and crafting things. And so like understanding how things work, why they work, and how does it help contribute to our lives in meaningful ways. Do you feel like as you're going through your dental training and education and choosing a path of surgery, do you feel like you've always had a great connection and dexterity with your hands and being able to have like a strong hand-eye coordination and some, dare I say, like a third eye for being able to do the work you do today?
I think so. I think I definitely had something innate in me. There's no question about it. I enjoy it. I love it. I'm very passionate about what I do. It brings me a lot of joy. But yes, there's got to be something innate. And I think there was an eye for symmetry, an eye for, different shapes, and being able to look at things in a different perspective. But also a lot of it is taught. That's why you go through the rigorous training. I finished training when I was 40 years old. And many, many hours of training, blood, sweat, and tears. No kidding about that. But that's when you also fine tune those things where you're looking at everything very, very minutely. And now eventually it becomes second nature. And that's what I tell my patients when they sit in the chair. I'm like, hey, just so that you know, I may be talking about a lot of different things that you've never thought of. But because we have to look at everything, and these are older patients, 18, 19, because because you've never seen these, but this is what I do for a living. I need to tell you everything. And we are all different. And this is what I really emphasize on. We're all different. And that's what makes us beautiful. That's what makes us awesome, because of our differences. I'm not here to make you look like somebody else. I'm not here to make you perfect and symmetrical. It's the imperfections that make us who we are. It's not just the imperfections, it's just the differences. But of course, there's a line between a difference that will really stand out, like a cleft lip and a cleft palate, and just a different way our eyebrows are, or our eyes are set, or our nose, our lips, and things like that. That's so. There's the minute surgeries that I do. Then there's the major surgeries where a child is born with a significant facial deformity, or a difference. We don't call them deformities, but if for your podcast, when I say difference, that's what I'm talking about, where the face hasn't formed correctly. Now they can't talk, they can't eat, they can't swallow. Those are the things that those cleft lip and palate children or babies go.
No, I appreciate you highlighting the intentional choice of words there. That definitely wasn't something lost upon me as we were leading up to this conversation. And it's a thing that I think about in many aspects of my life of like, how do we phrase and about challenging conversations? Because to your point, a lot of your patients, you said they're used to people staring at them, and due to societal standards or other things, unfortunately, they tend to be categorized as defects.
Right.
So I do appreciate that you approach them as differences and really taking a personalized approach, working with each patient in a way of, again, improving their quality of life while maintaining like maintaining the value of those differences and how it might contribute in other ways that might not be seen, right? Because there
Yeah.
is beauty in all that. I I'd love to hear more about, if possible, you could elaborate more about your personalized approach.
Honestly, I would say it's a completely personalized approach every single time. Every single time. Of course, there are certain things where you talk about, oh, the complications of the surgery. That doesn't change.
Hmm.
But every person is different. We have patients coming from all over the country now, and also Canada. So Canada is still a different country. So we have patients coming from different places. I want to get to know them. That's what really matters. Who are you, and what are your likes and what are your dislikes? Do you like to horse ride? These are true stories, and I have with them. I want to know them, and because that's more important than the surgical aspect. The surgical aspect, at the end of the day, it's a physical thing that you do. More importantly, who you are, why are you here? Why do you think that this surgery is right for you? What are you trying to achieve? All of those things. It's different for every single patient. And if we don't know this, then that's when things go wrong. You have to know your patient. I know that I'm oversimplifying this, but I tell people even a monkey can do surgery. I know that's not true. However, you do things enough times, you'll figure it out. What sets me apart is to be able to understand somebody on a humane level, one on one, that connection, to become a friend. Somebody who comes in is hurting. Number one, nobody wants to see me. I'm a surgeon. Look, I wouldn't want to see myself either, okay? I don't want surgery. I want to be healthy and I never want to see a surgeon, right? So, number one, nobody wants to be there. But now that they're there, I have to make sure that they feel like this is a safe space for them and we can talk about anything. If they want to break down and they want to cry, and their mother wants to cry, and their dad wants to cry, it's a safe space. We're talking about what you've gone through, and it's okay. And I tell them, like, hey, we don't have to talk anymore. You haven't cried before. This is a true story. A mother came in, she's like, he doesn't even realize, my son doesn't even realize what he's missing out on. He can't eat properly. And I'm just really glad that we're here to see you. And I'm like, well, let's cry. Let's cry it out. Not a problem. This is a safe space. And I take time. It's not like I walk in or like, you got 15 minutes. It doesn't work that way. Not for me. I get it. It works that way for a lot of people. It's just not that way. We establish that connection. And I always tell them, like, you're here to interview me. You don't break my heart by being mean to me right now. You can sit in the car and discuss whether I'm the right person for you. And that's really, really important to me. I am their advocate. I believe in patient advocacy. I'm your advocate today. That means if my team is not good for you, it's not the right fit, I will not take offense to it. But you have to understand, you have to choose the right surgeon for you. So do your homework on me. make sure that I know what I'm doing and that, you're going to see me for years. So that's kind of what my discussion with them is. It's all about patient advocacy, and it's all a personalized approach. It really is. You have to know your patient to be able to really take true care for them.
I agree. I understand that not all models and practices can take such an approach, but I feel like that is the standard, right? That is essential for really making us live and have more thriving, healthier lives.
We need to push for patient advocacy, not not just because for ourselves, but for our loved ones and for our patients.
Agreed. I would love to hear how technologies or recent innovations have impacted your work and your approach. Could you share any anecdotes on that front?
Oh, absolutely. Technology, just to summarize, is making things a lot more efficient. Surgery time, the amount of time we're spending in surgery has decreased considerably. And what am I specifically talking about? As a facial reconstructive surgeon, what we do now is, and a lot of things, what I do is where I will cut the bones and move them around in the face. And what we can do is we can have printed titanium plates, which will only be and only can be used for that one patient. So that's fantastic. Rather than bending plates like we used to do, we just put the plate on and guess what? It's a perfect fit. And so what we've been doing, and this is recent, these custom plates, custom is different, but virtual surgical planning actually has really changed the game. Now, with virtual surgical planning doesn't mean that you do not need to know how to do surgery. You still need to know how to do surgery. You say, of course, but there's a lot of people, there's a whole movement where you don't really need to know how to do this and you don't need to how to plan. You don't need to. So there's always a balance of things because of virtual surgical planning. I've heard people say, hey, this isn't easy. No, this is not easy. You need to be trained to do the surgery. And if things don't work, then what are you going to do? Just abandon the surgery? No, you're going to have to figure things out. So you have to know how to do surgery, but these things do help a lot. Now, virtual surgical planning basically is that where I can actually do the entire surgery before the actual surgery. Pre-plan where the bones are going to go, where the millimeter differences, how I can balance everything. And we used to do that 40, 50 years ago, and even 10, 15 years ago, we were eyeballing those things. And it was never a 100%. Now we can get to 99%. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. We're only human. However, we're getting things to be a lot more accurate, movements to be a lot more accurate. And the beauty is that we can now show that to our patients and say, this is where you started off, this is where you're going to end. And because we have virtual planning and 3D printing, it's really, really changed the game. But again, the caveat to these things always is, if there are younger surgeons watching this, is that you got to know how to do surgery without any of these things. You have to know how to do surgery without all of this. If you can do that, then that's when these are good tools.
I think that's a great thing to highlight, as you said, for our younger surgeons and practitioners coming out of school. I'm grateful that I still had an upbringing and young adulthood in the analog era. But I can't fathom when I think about like my niece and nephews and my friends' kids, where AI is just embedded in their life, and the digital world sphere that we live in. So I think there are good things and great opportunities for growth and learning in a variety of ways, but also I wonder what things are lost from those of us who did get to experience analog lives and training. I think this is a good place to pivot to hear more about the origin story of the Smile Unite Us Foundation. Could you tell us the
Yeah.
history of like when did the thought or the idea come to mind of wanting to found that foundation? What did that process look like? And what was your journey for where it's become today?
Yeah. So I'll start off as I did, um, talking about how I became a surgeon, with the story, with when it all started. My first mission trip, where I went to another country, a foreign country, and did cleft lip and palate surgeries, um, was in 2015. Um, I was not a cleft surgeon at that time. I was there a volunteer. 2015 was awesome. My wife was there. She's a photographer, so she went with me. So she was the official photographer for them, um, and she got to watch me operate. Gives me goosebumps to think about it every single time. And she's like, I've never seen you operate, but I'll tell you, I've never seen you so happy in my life, treating these children. And I had already mentioned to her, um, that I really want to further train to become a cleft and craniomaxillofacial surgeon. And that would mean taking out more time and not having any money for a lot longer of a time. So to say that to your spouse who's been with you for a long time and has never ever seen anything but being a student, and we hadn't had kids at that time, so it was daunting. She knew I wanted to do it. It was the second day when she came up to me and said, "Hey, I want you to do this. I know this means a lot to you. And like I said, I've never seen you this happy. You deserve this. I think you're going to be a great pediatric cleft and craniofacial surgeon." So that's kind of how my journey started to become a pediatric cleft surgeon. I also realized that in the US, and we know that we all should realize if we don't, we're very fortunate. We really are. A child here born with a cleft will instantly get help from the government, will instantly be put into a great children's hospital system, and they'll be taken care of. However, children born with cleft and facial differences anywhere else in the world, developing countries in the world, that's not the case. There's a huge need. There's a huge need. So it was in 2015 where I said, one day I am going to serve these children. I didn't know that I wanted to have my own organization at that time. But after that, I went to many different countries all over the world, um, took care of many different children, and with many different organizations. What I There was one mother in Mexico that truly fast tracked what I wanted to do. During this period of since 2015 to now, there were multiple instances where I said, "Hey, I want to have my own organization." I'm going to talk about that woman, right? So I was in Mexico. I operated on her child, and I was lucky enough to go back to the same area in Mexico after 6 months. The woman came up to me the first day and was in tears. Um, I couldn't understand her, but the translator told me What she's saying is that we prayed to God that you would come back. They already knew that they were going to have another surgery, but she trusted me. My results were good. Her son was finally able to talk, so she was scared that she would have to deal with another surgeon. And that's when I truly realized, there's certain things that just have to happen. I realized that when a mother or a father gives their child to you and says, I trust you, you're going to operate on my child. They don't know you. They're seeing you for the first time. They don't speak the same language. They don't have any money. They don't have an option. You're the only option. This is a big deal. It's a big deal. We cannot understand this. We never will, because in the US, I'm going to look at the surgeon multiple times before he touches my child. It's not happening. It's a lot of vigorous, things that we go through before a surgeon can operate on a child here. So I just realized continuity of care is so important. And for a child, but more importantly for parents to be able to see the same surgeon multiple times is extremely important. And I'm going to take a pause here and talk about why I said multiple times. A child that's born with a cleft, by the time they're 18, they're going to have at least 18 surgeries. There's so much more involved here. When a child is born with a cleft lip and a palate, their lip has to be fixed. Their palate has to be fixed, which is the roof of their mouth. They don't have bone where the teeth are. That will have to be fixed. In between, they have to have multiple ear tubes. Eventually, they're going to have jaw surgery because their upper jaw is set back. And then eventually, they're going to have a nose job of some sort because their nose is different. So these are just the large surgeries that I'm talking about. In between, there's going to be speech surgeries because their speech isn't right, and it goes on and on and on. There could be some revision surgeries in between. So we're talking about a lot of surgeries. Now, every time, my biggest issues with going with other organizations was I couldn't consistently go to the same place every 6 months. And that's when I realized I need to do this. I just need to do this. I need to start my own organization. I will tell you, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I couldn't do it without the support of my wife and my children. My children, because my 8-year-old, my 4-year-old is too young, but my 8-year-old understands. And when I'm away, it's very hard for him. It is absolutely very hard for him. And it's very hard for me because, I miss my family.
Yeah.
You go to a country, you're in a different place, you miss. But, I love what I do. I enjoy being with the families. But at night, when you're finally in your room and you're about to go to sleep, that's the loneliest time it is. However, during the day, it's fantastic. I love taking care of these children, love holding them, love spending time with their families. So it's very beautiful. But that's kind of how it all started. And that's how it all started, where if I were to give you one sentence or 3 words, I would say continuity of care. That's what these children deserve. They deserve that. They deserve the same respect, the same dignity that children here in the US deserve. And going to all continents and operating on these children, I can't do that, obviously. And I'm not doing that. I'm choosing specific sites, building them. But hey, it's a world of a difference for that parent, those parents. That's kind of how it all started. That's why I wanted to have my own organization where I had control. And yeah.
That's wonderful, Dr. Khan. I many questions. Do you now have a team of other surgeons or clinicians contributing to your cause here?
So yes, we have quite a few surgeons now who volunteer with us. Um, the exciting part is that they all want to come back and help. The feedback I received from them was that, Khurram, you're onto something that nobody else is doing. So what we do differently is number one, continuity of care. So a surgeon who operated on a child 6 months ago, guess what? After 6 months, they're the ones who will be doing the next surgery. And if the child is if they do not need a surgery after 6 months and they need the surgery after a year, still it's going to be that same surgeon that, again, these babies are babies. They may not remember, the parents do. So the parents are like, wow, he did such a great job. I'm so excited. And guess what? He's coming back. So that's one thing that the surgeons have really appreciated, that they get to see their own work. They build a relationship, a bond with these children and with these parents. And it's a very elevated way of looking at things, because it's not just about going in, doing a surgery, and then never seeing this child again. So it's more fulfilling. And that's the word that was used by every surgeon that I spoke to. I'm like, why do you want to come back? Because it's fulfilling for me to be able to experience that bond. So that was one thing. The other thing, what we do is we mentor and we educate. I took 3 surgeons here recently to a mission trip, and at the end of the week, we looked at all of our cases. And I told them, like, what do you think? Could you have done it better? Could we have done this better? And we all educated each other, and they were absolutely shocked. They're like, nobody does this. Nobody has time. And I understand all those things, but I want to make sure that I elevate everyone's game, not only mine, but everyone's game. And that's really, really important to understand. These are human beings. These are children that, again, deserve the same dignity and respect. And we have to bring our A game that day, and every single day when we're operating there. There is no margin for error. We're human beings. We can't be perfect, but we have to strive for perfection. And that's what we talk about. And the 3 surgeons, their expressions were priceless. They were like, this is incredible. This is just such an incredible experience, because not only are we helping people, but we're educating ourselves to become better. That small thing that nobody's going to notice, that small imperfection, well, we're noticing it now, and maybe we can get rid of that small imperfection for another patient. And so that's what we do. So those are the 2 main things that make us very, very different from other organizations. I'm really proud to say that, because that's what I'm founded on. And like a lot of other organizations, we try and train surgeons there too. Local surgeons, we try and train them so that they can help us. I won't be there forever. I can't be there forever. None of us can. But we want to empower local surgeons to be able to take care of these children too. So it's all about education, continuity of care. And those are the 2 cornerstones, of what Smiles Unitas Foundation is all about.
Are you currently recruiting for surgeons or other care providers for your organization?
We always are. We always are. Right now, it's mostly just surgeons. Um, we have all the other staff, but the reality is, if anybody wants to come and volunteer and you know educate the local, say, speech pathologists or dentists or anybody, we're game. I'm always interested in people wanting to give back. I always am. As far as our surgeons are concerned, um, the standard has to be exactly the same as what we have in the US. So I'm okay with surgeons coming who don't have the training and watching. But the reality is, the only person who's allowed to operate is somebody who is cleft and craniofacial trained. So you have to have the additional training um, to. So if you're simply just plastics, a plastic surgeon or an ENT surgeon or an oral and maxillofacial surgeon, you cannot operate. You have to have the specialized training.
That makes sense. I'd be curious, is from a numbers perspective, and it could be a rough estimate. How many surgeries do you think you've performed up till now? Um, Particularly cleft related surgeries.
So Smiles Unite Us so far. Uh, so we never talked about Smiles Unite Us specifically when it came to being, but it was August of 2024.
Okay.
And so since then, we've had two mission trips 6 months apart. Our first one was in September of 2024, and our second one was in February. We have performed, I believe, somewhere around 70 surgeries.
Wow.
Yeah. Our second one was in February. We went to, both of them were in the same area in a city called Karachi, Pakistan. And we operated on, I believe, 20 plus patients that week. It's 5 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Friday is always a half day because that's when we go back and we need to pack because we're going to be leaving in a few hours. Um, but we would have actually operated a lot more babies that time. However, upper respiratory infections were pretty rampant, so unfortunately we couldn't get to some of the patients. But yeah, anywhere at one during one mission trip, it's anywhere between, I would say, 30 to 40 patients.
And how do you go about choosing the sites or locations for these different mission trips? Are they something that you spearhead? Do you collaborate with different agencies or organizations locally?
So again, we're a baby organization.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, It's not even been a year yet. However, the way this works and the way it will work in the future is we collaborate with other nonprofit or local agencies and organizations, whether it be a hospital or another nonprofit. Um, and currently, like I said, I'm going to stay true to what I truly believe in, and that is continuity of care. There's need everywhere. Many of my friends have said, "Hey, why don't you go to other cities in Pakistan, or why don't you go to Africa, or Guatemala, Mexico, etc., Philippines, all these different places that I have operated in?" And well, I'm like, that's the problem, right? And we go there, then I don't see any of my kids where I operated 6 months before. So the plan is to continue every 6 months going to this one location, drawing patients from other cities to come here because they're getting free surgery, and and continue to see them every 6 months. And as the organization grows, then we have other surgeons who can be primary or lead surgeons go to other cities. But again, the continuity of care will not change. I will not give up on this one site ever.
That's fantastic. It's great to hear that. And
Giving up on that one site means I'm giving up on those children. And yeah.
exactly. So I definitely hope we'll do our part here at LGO to spread the word. We'll definitely make sure to share your contact information and talk more about your foundations, because if there are any surgeons and practitioners who fit this field that could contribute, I think it'd be great to see the work you all are doing expand and become more accessible in different sites, because there's children around the world, as you know very well, who could greatly benefit from someone like you. I tend to finish our conversations by, learning a little bit more about hobbies and things you do outside of the chair. First, could you share, are there any books or any forms of media, whether it's TV, video games, or whatnot, that currently occupies your mind?
Well, I was told to watch White Lotus, and I did. That was it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. I don't have a lot of time to. So, with being a full time practice owner, I have my own private practice and Smiles Unitas. I don't really have a ton of time to watch TVs and read books. However, I read a lot of children's books to my kids. I do love tennis, soccer, which I play with my son and my daughter. So my world revolves around working, my foundation, Smiles Unite Us, and the children in my family. So we spend a lot of time outdoors, especially when the weather is nice, which it is now in Cincinnati. We get go out and we play because I think kids should be outside. So we really do enjoy that aspect. I like being, constantly moving because I'm not getting any younger. Um, but yeah, those are the things that I like doing.
Have you found any time to go to any MLS games? Because I believe Cincinnati has an MLS team.
Yes. So we are season ticket holders. I love going to MLS. I'm a huge fan of FC Cincinnati. I'm also a huge fan of Messi. And I did get a chance to see him. Um, it was absolutely fantastic. We were about 4 or 5 feet away from each other.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
however, his bodyguard was right in between.
Of course.
Um, so I couldn't shake hands with him. He did. I have it on video. He winked at my son, so that was really cool because
Oh, that's
my
amazing.
son was so excited. He was constantly shouting Messi, Messi, Messi. So Messi actually saw him and acknowledged him. That was really cool. He's a pretty cool guy. He's a pretty cool guy. Keeps things very cool and very. I found him to be very, very humble.
Yeah, I as someone who's watched him play since he was a teenager, um, it's amazed me seeing how humble and grounded he's been able to at least present himself and
Yeah,
operate
yeah,
in this today's day and age. And I'm not going to try to compare him to other athletes, but I've I've been to 4 World Cups now. I've seen Messi play a lot, and I think the common thread from his peers and fans, media people, is like, how kind he is. And
he was very kind to my son to acknowledge him like that. It was very nice.
and I'm glad to hear that you get to still play with your kids. I'm trying to get back into shape to play more regularly, like not competitively, but at least in like some small side leagues here
Yeah.
in the Bay. But as you said, time, time is the difficult part to make that happen.
So with that limited amount of time, I try my best to spend it with my children. And I love it. I enjoy it so much. I really enjoy being a dad. To me, honestly, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. It really is. And so that's a great hobby to have. I love it. They drive me crazy sometimes. But
it's part of the package, right?
it's part of it.
Well, Dr. Khan, thank you so much for sitting down with us and sharing your life story, talking about your inspirations, your patient advocacy work, everything you've done with Smiles Unite Us. We are excited to just stay tuned and seeing all the great work you do for these children. And we'd love to have you back on the show for another chat.
I would love that. It was awesome chatting with you guys today. And it was an honor to be on your show. And make sure you follow us and like us and on Instagram, on Facebook. That's how you will know what we're doing. We're always excited to share what we're doing and what we're up to, especially for anybody who's donating. We want them to know what we're up to. The other thing I would mention is that when you go to these developing countries, even $1 goes a long way. A surgery that one surgery in the U.S. cost about $30,000. However, the places that we go to, it's $360.
Wow.
So that $1, those $10, whatever it is, it goes a long, long way. So, we're just excited. We're proud of what we've been able to achieve, and just excited to share it with the world and share it with everybody. So, yes, we try our best to, especially when we're on a mission trip, we really like to share what we're up to in real time. So follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
Absolutely. You heard that, audience. We'll make sure to blast and share your handles and social media pages with them accordingly so that they can connect and follow your journey moving forward. Thank you again, Dr. Khan, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
I love it. It was awesome. Thank you.